Good evening. My name is Professor Jody Levitt. I welcome everybody to the Institutional Review Board for Research and Writing, and we are very, very excited to have everybody tonight. And I hope everybody's doing well. It is beautiful in the Chicago area. We welcome tonight Dr. Susan Pettine, a professor in the School of Business and Information Technology and the chair of Purdue Global University. Purdue University Global's Institutional Review Board. That's the IRB. Dr. Pettine is going to provide some insight tonight about the IRB process. We are very excited to have Dr. Pettine. And without further ado, I'd like to let Dr. Pettine have the hour. Thank you so much. And I will be back at the end of the session.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and I'm really happy to be here tonight. I'm always pleased to be sharing about the IRB. Again, my name is Dr. Susan Pettine, and I am the IRB Chair and Administrator for Purdue Global. And I am also a full-time professor in the master's program in the School of Business and IT. So a lot of great things going on. And I'm really happy to be here about the IRB tonight. I have been serving as the IRB chair for the university since 2012. And before that, of course, I was an IRB member. So seen a lot of great growth over the years with what's going on here at the university. And certainly you all have some wonderful growth going on too. So I'm really pleased to be able to present to you guys tonight so you know a little bit more about the IRB and specifically how to be submitting to the PG IRB for any of the proposed human subject research that you may be doing in the future. So with that in mind, I am going to share my screen with you so I can share my presentation. Let me pull this up here and share. Okay, there we go. And okay, so I am going to let's move a couple things around here so I can see my screen better. There we go. Okay, so the focus of my presentation tonight is how the IRB, the Institutional Review Board, can help make your research stronger. And ultimately, all IRBs, the underpinning, the foundation are these three general ethical principles. And this is with regard to human subjects in research. So there's respect for persons, beneficence, and justice. And IRBs really came more into focus, well, pretty much after World War II and the Nuremberg trials. So that's the kind of grounding that we have for what we see today with regard to human subject research. A lot of it has that medical focus, but there's also the social sciences as well. And that can be just as important to having these general ethical principles in place. So not just for our IRB, but for all institutional review boards, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has the guiding principles, the federal guidelines that have things like the membership who should be part of our membership here at our particular IRB. There are the regulations that we follow, criteria for review. There's various record keeping and registration requirements. So we are all part of that federal system that guides what we do here. So what is an IRB? So it's a committee that's going to review all the research that can either directly or indirectly involve human subjects. Okay, we're looking to protect the rights of the participants. So we do human subject protection reviews at the IRB. So we can review for how someone is going to be treating their proposed human subjects. Methodology is something that your school would be in charge of. Or if you're going to be working with the journal would be concerned with the methodology. The IRB only reviews for human subject protections. How do I know if I need to submit to the IRB? So if you have any proposed research where there's going to be a human subject participant, then it needs to come to the IRB. Okay. So that could be, hey, maybe I want to do a survey and I'm going to create it. I'm going to plan to recruit people from this place and disseminate my survey at that place. Before you're doing any of that, think about the IRB. Okay. So maybe you're going to also be looking at data. Okay. So maybe somebody you know has collected some data but hasn't even published it yet. Human subjects were part of collecting the data in a survey that someone else has done. Even if they've not published it, maybe they have published it already, still needs to come before our IRB. It would most likely be something that's exempt from an in-depth review, but for the purposes here with what we're doing for human subject protections, we want you to come through the IRB. It's just part of the federal guidelines, and we, of course, want to adhere to those. The federal guidelines are something, as I mentioned, we're standard, but when we have accreditation reviews come in, they would like to look and see all of our paperwork. So we have all of the documentation that's in place. So that's why we do this. So human subjects. So any living individuals. So it could be again, I'll use the example of a survey. Maybe you want to do some interviews with people. It could be just data that's already been collected from other surveys or interviews. Maybe it's data that doesn't belong to you from another survey entirely, but you have permission to use it. Then please, that's something that would also come through the IRB just for documentation purposes. And anything that could be identifiable private information, we have a lot, and I'll get into this too. We have a lot of material to help guide you through how to deal with this. So we're here to help. We're happy to help. We don't want to be roadblocks. We want to be a supportive foundation for you. So PG IRB online submission process, and I will make this slide deck available to Mika when I am done. And you guys can probably grab these items from here. So we have an online submission site, and I'm really excited because we just did a revamp of this over the summer, and we're getting a lot of really good feedback from it. So we're always looking to operationalize more efficiencies for the users at the IRB. And so we're really pleased that we're able to roll this out this summer. We've been working on it for close to a year. And we're getting a lot more folks coming through the IRB these days. So we were going to see quite an increase this year, and we already are seeing it. And we're just really pleased with how we're able to meet the needs of the folks looking to use the IRB. But we have an online form, kind of really simple to use. There's an area to upload your documents for review. And also, it's important to note that any students that will be coming through the IRB, they have to coordinate with a faculty member or advisor for submission. So that's with something like the journal that's coming up. I know that that's something that's being discussed. So students will probably need just a little more guidance with this, and the IRB is here to help guide the faculty members who have to guide the students. So I don't want anybody to ever feel that they are not getting the foundational support they need, because again, we're here to help make your research stronger. So we have a whole lot of things to help guide in the submission process. So we have a very detailed set of guidelines. We also have checklists that can make your life a whole lot easier. So we have a specific set for faculty. It's really similar to the one that we have for students, but we have two separate ones. And just kind of go through it one by one by one. And it will just kind of just walk you through the process, answer questions for you. Again, I've been working with this for the last 12 years, so The nice thing is we've been able to create documents and templates that will help people before they have a question, they'll be like, oh, there's the template for it. I've already got my answer. So we have a lot of background and experience with kind of being able to foresee what people are going to need. And of course, if anybody ever needs anything, I have the email address for the PGIRB at the end of the presentation. Okay, so some of the things that we're going to look for folks to be submitting. There would be a certificate of training, and there is something called a group called CITI, and they are kind of like the gold standard of IRB training. And PG very kindly pays an annual fee so that the IRB training through CITI is free for faculty, staff, and students here at Purdue Global. So we always want to encourage folks to be able to use CITI. Of course, if someone happens to want to use something else, let me know, or maybe you've already got an IRB training certificate from something other than CITI. Reach out and let me know. We do accept others on a case-by-case basis. We'll also be looking for a research plan summary. So just the guidelines and checklists that I talked about in the previous slide will talk you through the items that are going to be needed in a research plan summary. So it's kind of just a formula, if you will, to follow. And you put that together and be sure to include a data management section. So perhaps you are going to be doing surveys and it's going to be done online through something like SurveyMonkey. So you have the plan for how you are going to, where you're going to keep it. Are you going to keep it on a flash drive, an encrypted flash drive? It's little details like that that are going to be important for protecting human subjects and their data. So we actually do have a template available in the checklist that will kind of walk you through what to do. And there's verbiage for you too. So we try to be as helpful as we can with this. So if you're going to be using a specific site, we do need written approval from the study site. So I'll give you an example. We had someone that wanted to come in and use a professional society, Society of Human Resource Management, to do an online survey through SurveyMonkey just recently. And they needed to find the right person for the particular group at Society of HR Management. And they got that person. They were able to get an official letter from them and said, yes, you have our permission to use our members for recruitment for your research. So that's one of the examples of what we're talking about with approvals. Another item would be maybe you're going to want to go to Facebook and go to specific, you have 5 sites, so 5 groups that you want to recruit from. So you would include links to those groups. And then for something like an online site, like Facebook, for instance, we ask folks to just give us a link to the term of service so we can go in and check and make sure term of service is something that is amenable to recruitment for surveys. And then specifically, we want to look at the particular groups. When you're doing something like a survey, you would want to do an informed consent document, and you want to be able to tell your proposed human subjects what you're doing. What am I studying? What this is about, what they can expect, why it might be important. And we give you a lovely template that you can use. So you don't have to think about, okay, what do I have to say in this? So again, we try to pave the runway for you there. And that's included in the checklist documents for faculty as well as students. And if you are going to do something like a survey or maybe interview questions, then we would want to have a copy of that as well to understand the questions that are being asked. We're looking at the risk to benefit ratio. So there's nothing that's done that it has 0 risk. But we want to understand that, the risk is low enough and the benefits can be high enough from the research that it makes sense for human subject protections. There are special classes of human subjects that do require more protections. Pregnant women, children, prisoners, and cognitively impaired persons. So there are specific federal guidelines that have to deal with that. So if someone's looking to interview prisoners, let's say, there are very specific things about that in the federal guidelines that we would have to follow. And something like that could be more of an in-depth full review by the full IRB. The last time we did one of those, I think it was a 2-hour meeting, which is not unusual. And then there's usually a lot of reworking. So the special classes is something that we watch very carefully. If you're making a regular submission and you want to say I'll use the Society of HR Management again as an example, and you want to do a survey. We basically, depending on the pipeline, because we don't have any control over how much is in the pipeline, of course, but depending on the pipeline, it could take anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks. The most IRBs at universities can take up to 6 weeks, but we really try to keep it on the straight and narrow. We have 30 IRB members, and they work really hard. So, but again, depending on what's in the pipeline, we can be really busy at any one given time. So just kind of want to make a special note about the special classes, as that's a really important category with regard to human subjects. So there's that full IRB board review that I was talking about if we have to deal with any of those special classes. And then we do have an IRB meeting that takes place on the second Wednesday of every month, 2 p.m. Eastern. And of course, we're happy to work with whatever folks need. But where we do exempt reviews, which are if the risk is really low and the benefit is higher, the ratio, then that's an exempt review most likely. And then if someone's going to look at something that maybe have a little more risk to human subjects, we may do an expedited review that involves a 2-person, more in-depth review with the IRB. And then if it's a special class, it would be a full board. So if someone's looking to survey prisoners, then it would be a full board review. If anybody's ever looking to do special class of human subjects, it's always best to reach out to the IRB ahead of time before you get too far into it. Many years ago, we had someone that did that, and they got into something where our IRB was simply not able to even review what they had in mind for working with prisoners. There was a special prisoner IRB that had to be set up that we just don't have the capacity to do. And so, unfortunately, a person kind of wasted a bit of time and had to rework things. So we want to kind of be proactive and help people up front. Oh, here's my reference on federal policy. And when your human subject protections are strong, your research findings will be stronger. There is the PGIRB email address for folks. And I am going to stop sharing it. I'm going to start taking some questions. So let me just jump back in. And okay. Questions. What can I answer for folks? Putting the links in the chat. Oh gosh, thank you for helping with that. I appreciate that. So let me just get a quick jump over here to the IRB. So let me get this in for you guys. Here is the main IRB site. Okay. So if you go there, you can look to the left, you'll see guidelines, IRB application form. We even have a point for research misconduct. So if anybody has anything to report, then they can do that there. So, and here's the IRB email. And let me just get that going. There we go. So yeah, if you can just go to the IRB main site, you can poke around on the left-hand menu and you're going to find all sorts of interesting things. Submissions, the form, the checklist, the guidelines, and research misconduct. Years ago. Okay, this wasn't with PG, but years ago, before I was working here, I'd worked in other universities. I was involved with another university IRB, and there was someone that registered a complaint about research misconduct, and oh my gosh, it took a year for this to be resolved. So sometimes things can, get complex in this world. And we always, of course, want to be doing what's best for the human subjects. And, we take this very, very seriously. But there's so much great work going on in research here at PG. I'm kind of excited to see what you guys are going to be doing in the future. Example of a research plan or summary. Um, you know, uh, they can take a lot of different forms. So what we do is in the guidelines, we kind of lay out, have this, have this, have this, have this. So when you're building it, if you're running into any questions, just let me know. We want to make sure you're just hitting the points that are in the guidelines, and there's no one set way to do that. But we just ask for that material that is needed is in there. Let's see. Did I miss anything? uh, and oh yeah. Oh, of course, Adam. Yeah, that's right. We were just talking today. You know, I am so excited when I see new folks coming in through because I know that there's a lot going on and there's just the learning opportunities are really strong right now. And I just want folks to feel comfortable always with checking in with the IRB and knowing that we're here to support you guys and we're happy to support both you and any of your students. And there's just a lot of great stuff going on, and we want to be able to always make folks feel comfortable and be not be. I have friends at other universities that deal with IRBs, and they're like, "Oh my God, there's nothing but roadblocks, left and right." I don't ever want to be that. So we have fabulous people working with the IRB on our committee. Most of them are elected every year or two. So this is their service work to the university. They take it very seriously and they are really incredible people with what they do. There's all sorts of background training for them. There's a lot of material that they have to dig through and they're happy to do it. I have some folks that have worked with us for years. They just kept getting reelected. So they've got a deep breadth of knowledge. And we're very fortunate to have such wonderful people in our IRB. And our specific type of IRB, under the federal guidelines, we're required to have two outside members outside of the university. One is a scientific person, one is a non-scientific person. So we've recruited a couple of great people for that. And we just have all these different dimensions and viewpoints that can really help bring out the ideals that we need to see, and we can help people make their research stronger with their human subject protections. And we're happy to help everybody. Any other questions? I'm sure I missed something. Is there a guideline or outline for students to follow prior to present? Oh, yes, good question. So the IRB website that I put in the chat, if you go over to the left-hand side, you can go there, you can click and see a lot of things, but there's something called the guidelines for submission to the IRB and talks about completing the form and the required items. And if you keep scrolling down, you're going to find a checklist that you can work through. It's multi-pages, and that will take you through everything that you need. And it will have the templates for things like the informed consent document, because that is kind of in-depth. and nobody should have to be making that from scratch. We have a template that can work, and you can rework it as you need to. And then there's some suggested verbiage for things like the data management policy that I had talked about at the beginning of the slide presentation. We give you suggested verbiage. Use that as a basis, expand from there, change it for whatever you need, but it's already there for you to make your life a little bit easier. Oh, thank you so much for putting in the guidelines. I really appreciate that. And let's see, anything else? Gosh, I understand you guys are doing the putting together a journal. I think that's so fabulous, and we're here and ready. We have 2 new doctoral programs that have started to come through this summer, and we're expecting. Well, we already have a lot of folks coming through there, so we're really busy, and we're all always looking to help more folks. So we're just so excited for you guys and the journal opportunity and what's going to be going on there. So if anybody has questions along the way, and maybe you're getting ready to put something together and you're just got a couple of questions, PGIRB at PurdueGlobal.edu, and I had put that email out there in the chat earlier. Just if you've got a question, put it out ahead of time. We're always happy to answer. And I'm talking with Adam earlier. So we're here and happy to help. And it's important that you guys have a good foundation for the work that you're doing, because the research coming out of PG is really good quality, and we want to keep it that way, and we want to make your research stronger.